All right, everybody, welcome to Talkin Investing. Sorry for being late. A lot happened this week, so we got a lot of stuff for today's stream. We're going to talk about the interest rates. We're talking about the Fed. A lot of earnings came out. Bitcoin is crashing, and there's some huge news for some Bitcoin miners. And we're going to talk about a trend that's, I think, only just beginning, and it's a major game changer. So we got a lot going on. You'll see in front of you the board, the charts, which is showing Bitcoin at around 94,600, which is lower than I thought it was going to get. How about you, George?
I said, Tom, I think this could be the weekend we get into the 80s.
That is on the table.
Yes.
Because
when do the guys stop buying? The ETF dudes.
When the market closes.
Yeah, so they're not buying now.
All
it would take.
Not only are they not buying now, they weren't buying yesterday. It was the second worst day in ETF history.
Was it really?
It was either yesterday or the day before. I'll find that article later. But yeah, almost $1 billion.
This is part of it. It reminds me of the when everybody was getting out of that other ETF. What was it?
Oh, Grayscale.
Grayscale. Yeah, it reminds me of that. They know it's being suppressed. I mean, this is all just games.
So that is a statement that I agree with completely. This is games. This is manipulation at its finest. And I'm going to do a poll next before I even talk about the main thing that I think is being manipulated here. But, you know, we're still in, I'm going to go to the 1 day. We're still in a normal range here for Bitcoin, right? From our high October 6th, so that's over a month ago now, to our low today, we were down 25%. Right. That's basically what's called standard operating procedure for Bitcoin. Now, we've been spoiled. The volatility was sucked out of Bitcoin in 2025. By the same token, look at how marginally it hit these higher highs all year, right? It just 109, 112, 123, 124, 126. We didn't have a blow off top. We just kind of drifted along. And now we've got ourselves a full-blown 25% pullback. It could get worse before it gets better, but I think it's going to get a lot better. So we're going to see what you guys think. Sour Melon Gaming, there will be no rate cut in December. Prepare accordingly. So the stock market's preparing accordingly. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll just jump right to that first.
God, are you kidding me?
This is crazy. So here's the FedWatch tool, the CME FedWatch tool. This is basically what's priced in. There's now a 45.9% chance of a rate cut. Now, this chart doesn't show it. It says that 1 month ago was at 94.4%. But what it doesn't tell you is 2 or 3 days before that, it was at 100%. So maybe 35 days ago, this was at 100% chance the market had priced in for a rate cut. And now it's down to 45.9. So the scales are now tipping. But it's worse than that because the market doesn't know. Now you're in a 50-50 type of a situation. This is what the market hates the most. If this was 99% over here, even though it's bad news, we'd price it in, we'd deal with it, and we'd move on. But now everybody's got to sit here and go, I have no idea what the Fed is going to do. I don't know that they're going to get any of their numbers prior to this meeting, right? Because, you know, the government was shut down. It's open back up, but they've already said the numbers are not going to be coming out on time by any means.
And they're looking for reasons not to lower it, not reasons to lower it.
Exactly.
You know, and that's, you know, unfortunately, this guy is not our friend.
That's right.
I mean, I would love to see somebody defend that one. I don't even understand. I mean, we're on the verge of something that could be, it could go either way, Tom. It could be the most amazing thing ever, or it could also be we're falling off a financial cliff. It's one or the other.
That's right. And what, the Fed is going to play a big role in that. And I'm just telling you right now, if they don't do a rate cut and they come out and say a bunch of hawkish stuff and complain about how they don't have any data, and it's starting to get priced in right now. It's why things are pulling back, but it will get worse before it gets better if that happens. And it's just, to me, that would be just totally irresponsible. So I just don't get it, but I understand. I mean, this is what the market's telling us, is the market no longer believes, by a little bit, the market no longer believes we're getting a rate cut in December, which is just, it boggles my mind.
Tom, have you looked at the fear and greed?
Take a look at the fear and greed.
You
right
haven't
now.
seen it? Extreme fear.
16. It was 15 yesterday, 16 today. That's all extreme fear, but we're getting down to 10 is like the nightmare. 10 was the bottom of the crypto winter. There was one day where it actually went even below 10. It popped down to like 5 or 6, but 15 or 16 on the crypto fear and greed index is max pain. There's not much. This is screaming to me there's not much room left to the downside. And I really think I bought a bunch of stuff in the middle of the day, and I regret not buying it in pre-market where I was looking at things, deciding between, is this the end of the world or is this the best buying opportunity of a lifetime? So
can you imagine what that's going to be today?
Everything rallied quite a bit during the day, and then it kind of pulled back near the end of the day. So I did get a buying opportunity. I did buy some stuff, but I didn't, I'm saving some powder because there is no doubt we could continue to go lower. But when you see this, thanks for bringing this up, George. When you see 15 and 16 on the fear and greed index, when you see indecision on what the Fed is going to do, you've got Bitcoin that's down 25%. You've got the Bitcoin miners that are down. They're doing much worse than that. So we're going to take a look at what the Bitcoin miners did this week as well. This week, this month, this year to date, this year was awesome for Bitcoin miners until November. November's been an absolute nightmare. And it really started at the end of October. So and all year long, we were like, okay, that's all right, because wait for the fourth quarter. That's when things are really going to get rolling. And, in typical fashion, the exact opposite of what we think is what ends up happening. Oh, that's not what I meant to press. You guys could please smash the like button, the thumbs up button. Feel free to subscribe if you're new here, but if you can hit the like button, it helps the stream out in real time a lot. And boy, do we need it, because it's ugly out there. But I have not lost my optimism, but that doesn't mean it can't get worse before it gets better. Somebody saying IREN going to the 20s. Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to the 20s, but if it does, it was at $6 or $5 like 6 or 7 months ago. So, even if it pulled all the way back to 20, that's still a 4 or 5x from where it was, this year. So this is the problem with this middle zone. How vicious is the pullback? I think, the biggest pullback we've had in the last 3 years was 30%. And I think that's going to be it. I don't think we're going to go past 30, but the door is open. We're already at 25. It's not ridiculous to say we're going to go have a 30% pullback. And
that's why I said 88.2. That's a 30%. 88.2 is the number.
Okay, so let's see. How long until Bitcoin is over 100K? One day, people are not confident, 5%. After this weekend, 32%. 1 to 2 weeks, 35%. Not until the end of the year, 28%. So see, this is this goes to show how much pessimism has crept into particularly retail, and that's all of us. And I'm not immune from it. George isn't immune from it. None of us are immune from it. Well, but we don't have to make, we're going to feel the fear, but we don't have to make buying or selling decisions based on it. We can do that rationally outside of our emotional thoughts. And that to me is the key to everything, because, you know, history is filled with extreme fear being the best possible time you can buy stocks in the stock market, crypto in the crypto market. So, you know, and they mess with you. They're pushing us down. So was it going to be 20%? Nope, it wasn't 20. We're at 25. Is it going to be 25? Maybe not. Maybe it'll be 30. And, you know, all of a sudden now you hear everybody's terrified. Everybody. So I'm going to put up a new poll and ask a question. So this not too confident after this weekend. Today or this weekend was only 37%. Everybody else thinks it's going to take anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks to get back over 100,000, or not until the end of the year. That's a surprising result to me. But I think it's healthy. I think it's good. All of this stuff, I know it feels awful, but it's actually, this is the process.
Yeah, Zcash is getting destroyed. Dude, you know what? I'm just telling you, this is what I feel. This is going to be epic. I think we're going to have a strong finish to the year. I'm not worried. I mean, of course I'm worried, but I think this is how we forget, guys, but this is how the hedge funds work. We forget it. We're witnessing it.
Yeah, this is page 1, chapter 1. You know, this is the first rule.
Has anything changed for Bitcoin or crypto? And I would say yes, and it's only for the positive.
Right. So I just put up a new poll. Is the AI bubble bursting or is it over? So take a vote, and then I want to talk about that concept, and we're going to talk about what some companies are doing.
You could answer this both ways and still have two different answers. So what you're saying is it over? Yes or no? Is it done?
Right. Are we in the middle of a bursting bubble and that's it? We're done. The hype, it was hype. And I've got here, let me find an article. Say it in somebody else's words.
No, wow. We're going to have an 80-20.
Really?
Stephen Max, you're wrong. Nobody knows. They know. I bet you the hedge fund guys know that this ain't over with. This is not going anywhere. This thing, the AI, we're just at the beginning of AI. I think this will be bigger than EVs.
Oh, please.
That's please. He agrees with me, but he's doing something.
No, that's please. I agree with you. I don't even saying those two things in the same sentence to me is ridiculous.
Yeah, but remember, Tom, people forget EV had a market cap share of over $100 billion.
Oh, way over that.
Yeah.
The EV bubble was real. It was massive. And so I can't find it, but basically I read an article, and I'm going to take just one more second to see if I can find it.
I think this will this AI thing will last a long time. I think this will last longer than the EV sector did. I think we have probably a 20-year life of AI. I don't know. I think you're going to have a sizable pullback at some point in time, but it's all going to be about power.
It's all about power. Elon Musk just came out this week and said 1 year from today, there's going to be an absolute crisis. We're going to be out of power. AI will not be able to function because we're going to be out of power. That's 1 year from today. If you look at the top 5 companies, the amount of money they plan on spending in the rest of this year, next year, 2027, 2028. So here's the deal. There's going to be some AI companies that win. There's going to be some AI companies that lose. And this list of stocks is the picks and shovels. It's cliche, but it's a fact. This is the power. This is the bottleneck. And everybody is worried about it. And I'll tell you, if you remember 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, everybody was trying to get their hands on ASIC miners. They couldn't do it, right? They thought, we got to get as many ASIC miners as we possibly can because that's the bottleneck. They were paying, 50% or 100% deposits 6 months or a year in advance to get Bitcoin miners. Well, within 2 years of that, they all realized this isn't about Bitcoin miners. This is about power. We need control of our own power. And they all shifted. If you remember the old Marathon Asset Light, well, they've shifted 100%. And, most of the other companies are completely vertically integrated. They have been signing power deals out into 2026, 27, 28, 29. And those deals, some of them last for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They're locking down power and they're ahead of the rest of the world because it's the identical formula and learning curve that they went through as Bitcoin miners. So that was almost actually a test run for what is ahead, because as big as Bitcoin is and cryptocurrency is, and we can talk about that because it's changing the world, but these high performance computing AI type stocks are going to require so much, regardless of which company wins and which company loses. The power companies are going to win. The data center companies, more specifically, it's not enough to just have power. You need data centers. So there's one Bitcoin miner. Guess what? They announced their earnings today and they said they're turning all their machines off. They are going to switch 100% out of Bitcoin mining and all in on high performance computing and AI. And that is Bitfarms. Bitfarms reports third quarter 2025. So this was actually yesterday. Revenue of 69 million. They don't care about their revenue. It's from Bitcoin mining. Here, let me find the average operating exahash, 14.8. Now, that's right where it was at June, but in the middle, it popped up to 17.7. They decommissioned a lot of machines already. And in their new investor relations package, they talk about how they're going to go through. They released these 2 press releases on the same day. This is their earnings report, and then they also released this. Bitfarms announces plan for conversion of Washington site to high-performance computing AI workloads. So this is only 18 megawatts. This is the first thing they're converting. They're going to have it ready next year. But there's a lot of other stuff they're simultaneously already working on that they don't talk about in this article. They have about $1 billion in the bank, so it's not like they're running out of money anytime soon. And they're going to turn all of their machines off. Let me see if I can find the part where it talks about. And there's something interesting here because it says, so this is Ben. While most developers are focused on supplying Blackwells, we intend to lead the industry in the development of Vera Rubin infrastructure. So that is the next chip that is a significant upgrade from NVIDIA. and the configuration is different. So all these data centers that are built for the Blackwells, and it's not like the Blackwells are going away, but this next generation is twice the computing power. So Bitfarms is they're doing a test run for the H300s, and then it's all going to be this next generation that they're setting their entire ecosystem around. With successful completion of our $588 million convertible note offering and the conversion of $300 million debt facility to a project-specific financing for the development of our Panther Creek campus, the company is excited to commence the initial phase of our HPC AI development. We now have substantial financial flexibility with $814 million in liquidity and an additional $200 million potentially available from the blank facility. And we have a clear vision of how we're going to best utilize these funds.
I was thinking, guys, when you feel bad, don't feel really bad, because can you imagine being Matt at CleanSpark and he raises $1.5 billion? Was it 1.5 billion?
In what?
It's just
1.15 the 1.15 billion they just raised.
Right, and he's thinking the time that he did it, like, oh, this is going to send my stock. I'm buying a whole bunch of stock back. Things are going to be awesome. My stock's going to take off. And
everything tanks.
And it plummets. I mean, that was like a $400 million mistake. So when you guys feel bad, realize there's that.
Yeah, I think they bought $460 million of stock back at $15.03.
Look at what it is now.
Yeah, that was rough.
So think of how much money he lost.
So true, but big picture, they just bought a lot of stock back. You know, that's anti-dilutive.
Right, so I'm saying that thing could go to $9 again, Tom.
It could. I was looking at that chart. It could bounce off of $9, but if it does, I still think the amount to the upside, the difference, and I'm trying to find somewhere where they talk about this. The difference in the amount of revenue and gross profit that they can get from these machines here. We believe there are compelling reasons to consider pursuing a GPU as a service or cloud monetization strategy specifically at Washington, despite being less than 1% of our total developable portfolio. We believe that the conversion of just Washington, which is just 18 megawatts, right? These guys are coming up on a gigawatt. Just 18 megawatts could potentially produce more net operating income than we have ever generated with Bitcoin mining. Ever. Providing the company with strong cash flow foundation that could fund OPEX, G&A, debt service, contribute to CapEx. So and here it is, as we wind down our Bitcoin mining business in 2026 and 2027. So they are, they're not going to turn them off tomorrow. They're going to, as long as they're making money and until they get contracts to fill them otherwise, and, they can only pay so much to convert facilities one at a time. So these will run for a while, but they're just going to continuously take these offline, just like TeraWulf is doing, by the way. Now, TeraWulf didn't say they're going to zero, but they've already gone from almost 13 down to 7. I think they're going to go to 0 exahash as well. Bitfarms is now telling you, winding down. That's not a gray area. They are done mining Bitcoin. And they're saying with just 1% of their energy portfolio, they can generate more net income and cash flow than they could with all of their power doing Bitcoin mining. So that's how severe the difference is. If they can, they got to execute. Like everything, Bitfarms has had a lot of big plans over the years. We have not necessarily seen them get to the finish line on a lot of their plans. So that's your risk. It's execution risk. If they can execute, and here, this is, so to answer, is the AI bubble bursting or over? This is a prominent slide in Bitfarms' investor presentation that they just put out yesterday with their earnings. Infrastructure is not a bubble.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just period. End of paragraph, right. End of sentence, end of everything. Infrastructure is not a bubble. Are lots of companies that have stupid ideas with AI products going to go out of business? Are there a lot of companies out there growing in market cap that don't even have a functioning product? All that's going to happen just like in previous bubbles. But these companies aren't about that. These are high revenue, high gross profit. They're going to have low PEs. I was reading an article that said, well, it looks like we're one of the endless number of articles that talked about the AI bubble is bursting. It's clear we're now at the same exact spot we were just before the .com bubble crashed. And it was a very complicated analysis of price earnings, but they are missing the forest for the trees completely, because for those of you who remember, and it's the same thing true, George, for your EV bubble, all those EV companies in 2020, all those internet companies in the year 2000, they had one thing in common: either next to none or none revenue. Zero. Most of the EV companies didn't even have a prototype that worked. Remember the one company was pushing it down the hill, as it later turned out? I mean, the thing didn't even work. And their proof of concepts weren't really proof of concepts. And George, you nailed this before the rest of the world figured it out. They can't carry load. And that was just the bottom line. So they can't. There were several companies that were focusing on bigger vehicles, load-carrying vehicles, and it just wasn't going to happen. And they're all out of business now. They never sold anything. They never got any revenue, and they all went out of business.
And the guys on this channel, we all knew this. I dropped a few loads in these EVs, and they didn't handle it.
They did
Right now at this time, I was told by a person at Tesla, I bought a Model X. Is that the good one? I bought a Model X. Okay, I'm gonna come clean here. I bought a Model X. I'm like, yes, I'm pimp daddy. I'm gonna let it drive myself. And at the time, this was probably right around 2020. So probably like right at the end. So before 21. And I was like, it'll drive me. That was an extra $5,000 to have it drive me someplace. But right. It wasn't completely autonomous mode at the time.
And they've come a long way since you got yours.
Yeah. And so, but they said by this year, 2025, that I would be able to put a trailer on the back of my X, send my car with nobody in it to where I needed to drop off, let's say, hardwood floor or materials for a job, and send it back without anybody being in the car.
Yeah,
and guess what, guys? You can't do that.
You can't do that. And based on just the weight, I mean, they're not even trying to do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's that. But back to AI for a second, Tom. How many people, I mean, if you're in business, I use AI every single day now. There's not a day that I don't use AI. AI is just like, and if you're not using it, it is just such a tool to be so much more efficient at what you're doing that it's just crazy. I mean, AI is basically do away with attorneys. And yes, AI gives you a lot of stupid answers. You got to be careful. But
Right. You gotta, it's not it's not, you can't delegate it and it does the work for you and spits it out the door. But the amount of stuff, it streamlines things for you if you know how to use it. And yes, you have to be careful because it's wrong frequently. But if you know what you're doing, you spot that quickly and you fix it. So
another thing, talking about, somebody was talking about miners in the Bitcoin world of the United States. I have a feeling that a lot of these people are going to rethink their position by shutting off their Bitcoin mining machines, because I think once Trump does his strategic reserve and it becomes more of a mainstream currency where Apple gets in on it, Microsoft buys, everybody. Remember, Microsoft didn't buy. The conclusion was it's not the right time to buy, but now we get a strategic reserve and they're going to have a different conclusion that they have to buy it. And I think that will also be before the end of the year. I mean, worst case scenario would be first quarter next year, but I have a feeling that ABTC is going to be a huge play because, whether the United States is going to invest into it or like shore it up with cash or, infrastructure or whatever type of grants they might get, and trust me, I know who owns it and I'm not the happiest person about it. Nothing I can do though. You know what I mean?
Well, and they put out their earnings. We're going to go through that, but they now stand as the only pure play Bitcoin miner that's publicly traded. All the rest have capitulated and said they're reallocating anywhere from a medium amount to a massive amount of resources to high performance computing. So, but ABTC doubled down there, and they're even talking about how they're asset light. Now, it's a kind of a little bit different with ABTC because they are able to be asset light because their parent company, which is Hut 8, owns all the infrastructure. So that's a little different than, renting from a third party and having hosting from a third party. It is, it is a different company, but it's they literally are, I think they own, after all is said and done, I think Hut 8 owns 65%. You can correct me if I'm wrong, plus or minus 65%, to the extent where Hut 8 has to consolidate that and it gets rolled up into their financial statements. So, I mean, there's a relationship there, and they're all in. The ABTC is all in on Bitcoin mining and nothing else. I just want to read this because this is the next slide in Bitfarms investor presentation. Infrastructure is a bottleneck. So 100 gigawatts of AI chips are going to be produced by the year 2030. These are estimates, obviously. 30 gigawatts of new generation to come online by 2030. 45 gigawatt shortage of power for new data centers by 2030. So you can see the demand, which is up here. Somebody's buying these AI chips, and I don't know who the winners or the losers are going to be. Is it going to be ChatGPT? It seems like they got first mover advantage. They're way ahead of everybody else, but you've got a lot of very big, deep pockets trying to catch up to them. There may be multiple winners, or some of these may lose. And by the way, some of these companies are big enough. Google is heavy into AI. Amazon's heavy into AI. Apple's heavy into AI, but they're so big. Those are $2 and $3 and $4 trillion companies. Those companies are so huge. Mark Zuckerberg basically said, "I'm throwing $200 billion at AI, and he said if it goes to zero, if it ends up worthless, it's okay because it's too big of a risk not to make the investment.
Bingo. Yep.
So this money's getting spent. This is not the metaverse.
People are saying a few things and I want to address it. Robin said there's no money in mining Bitcoin. You know what is funny? This is what my accountant friend said to me when I went to him in 2011. And I said to him, Tom, I found something that's going to revolutionize the whole world. So it's going to change the whole financial system. It's called Bitcoin. And he ran the numbers. And you know what he said? There's no money in mining Bitcoin. That mistake that haunts me today, hearing those words come out of his mouth. Because there might not be no money today, but the future value of it is going to be amazing.
This was early days, and the person he's talking about is me. George wanted to start a Bitcoin mining company. Wasn't 15 years ago, but maybe 12 years ago.
Yeah. It was 2011 into 2012.
And we ran the number. I ran the numbers, and it was a losing proposition. It wasn't even close. It cost 3 times as much to mine a Bitcoin as the Bitcoin was worth. And by the way, remember, put yourself back 12 years ago. What the hell's a Bitcoin?
Right.
I had no idea what he's even talking about. But we dug in, did our research, and the math was like, okay, our energy bill is going to go through the roof. It's going to cost us way more. But look what happened, right? So if we had bought those and saved them, we'd be multi-billionaires. Now, I know there's 100 of you with the same exact story. And, it's hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, power is the new king. And that brings me to an excellent point. Bitfarms, I thought, did the stupidest deal ever with Stronghold. I bet you most everybody thought it was a stupid deal. But guess what they have? Power, baby. Power.
Right. That deal turned out to be the centerpiece of what is their company now. But
think about this. Oh my goodness gracious. New York, you fools in New York. Sorry, Tom. You fools in New York. All these people have said that you can't do Bitcoin mining. But guess what they didn't say? They didn't say you can't do HPC.
Yeah.
And I was wondering about those contracts, Tom.
I mean, that'll be interesting because a lot of these companies are going to pivot. We had this conversation on our Tuesday members only live stream, and this came to fruition faster than I could have possibly imagined. It seems to me a lot of these companies are going to significantly diversify. We know that. And some of them are just going to stop Bitcoin mining. But to George's point, what happens when adoption's real and Bitcoin's $500,000 per Bitcoin? Now, all of a sudden, the math is very different. So if you don't think that's ever going to happen, then you don't want to be in Bitcoin. But, when Bitcoin was at a couple of bucks, I made the same calculation and said, this is crazy. Why would anybody ever do this? But the reason was because it, million X'd. Tom's channel will become AI high performance computing channel. So it's already turning into that, but I'm not abandoning Bitcoin. I'm with George. I think the companies that are the smartest are going to keep their toe in both pools of water. And here's the thing. With the new technology coming out for Bitcoin miners, now is the time to pivot to high performance computing. Get those data centers set up. Then you're going to get the latest and greatest of those machines. And then by the time you're done with that and you circle around maybe 2 years from now or 2.5 years from now, just prior to the next halving, you're going to be buying new Bitcoin mining machines that are so dramatically more energy efficient that all the machines you had, like if people were buying ramping up to 60 exahash, 100 exahash, et cetera, all those machines are going to be gone after the next halving because they're not going to make any money. The global hash rate, while publicly traded companies have basically stopped growing, the global hash rate continues to run. So let's see if I can pull that up.
Why do you think the seller is going to be forced to sell BTC?
I don't think that he will be forced to sell. He's structured everything so that he's avoiding that situation. What I will say is they are approaching 1 MNAV quickly. The Bitcoin network's at 158 trillion, and it's due for another increase in difficulty. So this has 10x'd in the last 4 years, and it's still growing. So that does change the equation. The price of Bitcoin has to go up, or at the next halving, everybody's turning their machines off. Now, obviously, that's not how it's going to play out. There'll be some middle ground that occurs. I think the network will come back down to a little more realistic place. It can't keep growing like this, but people are still making money. They're still cash flowing on the machines they already own. And there is no reason, if you already bought a machine, you might as well run it to the ground because, with depreciation, you may not be making money, but you are cash flowing heavily if you're a Bitcoin miner right now with, the big publicly traded Bitcoin miners that have reasonable energy costs. Most of the Bitcoin miners reported their direct cost per coin is somewhere between $40,000 to $60,000. So Bitcoin's been between, and now we happen to be on the day that it's not, but it's been basically between $100,000 and $125,000 for 3 or 4 or 5 months. So, there's a lot of cash in the middle that they're making to pay. IREN came straight out and said, and they have one of the lower costs in the 30,000s. And they told us a long time ago, we're going to get to 50 exahash. We're going to mine Bitcoin like there's no tomorrow, and we're going to sell every single one of them and build out world-class data centers for high-performance computing. And they have executed on that plan, and now they went out and got a $10 billion deal. There's a reason IREN ran. That was not... IREN looks like a bubble, but it's not a bubble because prior to this year, their all-time highest revenue for a year was like under $100 million. They doubled or tripled that this year, but that's nothing because next year their run rate, they're looking to get up to $3 billion. That's a 30x on revenue on things that are a higher gross profit margin. Cantor Fitzgerald came out and said, we're putting, and I've never even seen anybody do this, we're putting a 2028 price target of $384 on IREN. $384. So I don't think, to go back to Bitfarms' point here, infrastructure is the bottleneck. You can see this is the demand for AI chips. The power just doesn't exist. There will be a shortage, which then means the gross profit of this is going to go up, not down. We haven't started this bubble. We're actually, in my opinion, and that's why I wanted to ask you guys this first, because the narrative out there right now is there's an AI bubble, it's bursting, and we're all screwed. Well, in my opinion, they're 100% wrong about that. These stocks have not even begun to enter bubble territory. And we've seen what bubbles look like. So, again, this is not financial advice. I don't know the future. I'm not making any promises. But in previous bubbles, equity stocks, in internet equity stocks, EV equity stocks, they 30x'd, 50x'd, 100x'd before the bubble burst. Remember, back when Priceline was losing in 2000, Priceline was losing $5 billion a year. Amazon was losing $1 billion or more a year. And this is on revenue, tiny revenue, right? They only had just started to even figure out a revenue stream. A lot of companies still had no revenue. None. So they're talking about PE ratios. Well, you can't have a PE ratio if your company's losing $5 billion a year. So don't compare these companies to those companies. And it was worse with the EV companies. None of them had any revenue, right? At one point, when Rivian and Lucid were trading somewhere between $50 and $100 billion market cap stocks, they were each losing about $5 billion a year. Their cost per vehicle, and they only sold a couple of hundred, was like $600,000 a vehicle that they were selling for $150,000. So that's the equation they were looking at. They had next to no revenue, and they had these astronomical, their market caps were 20 or 30 or 40 times what these market caps are. So I just, you don't know where it's going to end. And obviously there's no guarantee that this is the next big bubble, but putting aside a bubble, there's fundamentals here. I mean, there is currently, and there will continue to be, I think, for at least the next 5 years, the bottleneck is going to be in energy, just like it turned out to be in Bitcoin. Where's the bottleneck in Bitcoin? You can buy a GPU now for pennies on the dollar. They're giving them away. No one's investing in companies that make, ASIC miners for Bitcoin, right? Those were all big popular companies. Now they're all irrelevant. Now, a couple of these, BitDR makes their own machine. So they probably get some efficiency doing that. I think they'll continue to grow. And by the way, they crashed, and we're going to talk about that. Because I thought, again, I think people are missing the big picture. They're just missing the big picture. When you hear Bitfarms say that with 18 megawatts, which is essentially nothing, every single one of these companies has somewhere between 1 to 3 gigawatts in their pipeline. They're talking about 18 megawatts. I mean, these are, and they're growing. Now, HUT, I'm just going to show you HUTs because I don't understand HUT, and I still don't believe them. I don't know any more than you do. So that's not some insightful inside information. It's just my gut feeling, because they always have to go too far. And I'm going to show you what I mean. If you
talking about me, Tom?
So here's Bitfarms, right? In Pennsylvania, 1 gigawatt of energy pipeline. That's just right. That's that deal. That's the deal you're talking about, George.
Right.
That's the stronghold deal. A gigawatt right there. 18 megawatts in Washington, 170 megawatts in Quebec. And another thing they're showing you is there's a gigawatt of data centers already there. So they're 18 megawatts. They have the opportunity to grow massively in Washington. Washington's very friendly to data centers, Bitcoin miners, whatever the case may be.
They hate those dirty Bitcoin miners, Tom.
And Pennsylvania, same thing. Obviously, we know Texas is friendly. There's places that we're going to see consolidation. Georgia, right? Georgia's been very good to CleanSpark. And this is the last thing. Go ahead, George.
And the money these things generate in taxes for the local community is amazing.
Right. It makes no sense why these territories or states or counties or whatever the case may be are rejecting this business. But it's okay because there's other states in their place that are embracing it.
I do understand why you reject it. I mean, there's noise pollution. There's, EF pollutions.
The noise is real.
Right.
You've heard it yourself and you've lived it. The noise is absolutely real. If you guys can do us a favor and please hit the like button, smash the like button, the thumbs up button. If you are new here, you can subscribe to the channel. We used to talk about Bitcoin miners, but now it seems like our Bitcoin miners want to be high performance computing stocks. And we had one come out today and basically say by the end of, it's a 2-year plan. So prior to the next halving, and this is where I think you're going to see most of these companies do this. The Bitcoin economics as they are, and they're going to change. And this is why I think Bitcoin is going to have a huge run up. But with the network growing as much as it has, the network growth has outpaced the price growth. At the same time, the reward got cut in half because we had a halving. So you add those two things up together and the math just doesn't work the way it used to for Bitcoin miners. Now, when we have the next halving, it's going to be a nightmare. But what's going to happen in the middle? Bitcoin's going to have a big run up and then all of a sudden the math's going to work again. So that, to me, I think that's what is going to happen. So I do think there will be some of these companies. I think the smartest of these companies will stay involved in both. They will strategically time them. I wouldn't buy a Bitcoin mining machine until, here, let me see if I can find, because here's what's coming. So this is BitDR, Seal Miner Technology Roadmap. Now they're behind. When this came out, it's the first thing I said. There's no chance they will stick to this budget. And I'll tell you the one that I said, no chance. This one right here. The Seal 4, 5 joules per terahash. This was put out in 2024. So this was the initial slide of the rollout of the Seal 1, 2, 3, 4. This was going to be the timing. This was going to happen in Q2 of 2025. They're still not there. We're in Q4 of 2025 and they're still not there. I don't know when they're going to get there. And when they do get there, my guess is it's going to be more like a 7 joules per terahash, which is still spectacular because they did not hit this 10 joules with the Seal 3. But my point is, this is what's coming. By the next halving, we will have Bitcoin mining machines that have an efficiency of 5 joules per terahash. If the efficiency you're running at right now is somewhere between 15 and 20, you're going to be spending 3 to 4 times as much money per Bitcoin as a company that waited and bought the new machines. So that's why I think there's a couple of years in the middle where everybody's saying, time out. I'm not buying any more 15 joule per terahash machines. I'm going to wait for the 5s, and maybe the 5s turn out to be 6s or 7s. Either way, it's so dramatically less. It's the only way to go into the next halving. So those that do choose to go into the next halving, they are going to time this if they're smart. And I think you're seeing this because most of the big Bitcoin miners, CleanSpark has added no exahash in the last 3 or 4 months. IREN has added no exahash, and they told us we're getting to 50 and we are stopping, period. So we know they're not adding any more exahash. RIOT has dialed it back. They've added like 1 exahash all year this year, and they're looking to do very little. They're talking about 3 or 4 more exahash over the next year or year and a half. TeraWulf's cut their exahash in half, right? Very quietly, because they don't even do, most of these companies have stopped doing monthly Bitcoin operational reports. TeraWulf in their quarterly report reported they're running at 7 exahash. So that's dramatically less than it was. Bitfarms is now running at 14 point something exahash. That's less than it was. And they've already just told us we're sunsetting all of these in 2026 and 2027. No more Bitcoin mining after that. So they're not going into the next halving. And they won't be alone. But I do think there'll be other companies. There's a lot of very strong balance sheets. And I think this one right here, this company that makes their own Bitcoin miners, is going to be able to do whatever they want at their own pace. And they will likely prepare themselves for the next halving. So I think this company stays around. And by the way, I bought some of this week. And not financial advice. I bought 3 things. I'll let you know what they are. But this was one of them. And it's because Here, BitDR fell 20% on wider than estimated net loss and ASIC chip delays. So the chip delays, let's be honest, we've all known about this since the day they rolled it out. They weren't going to hit those deadlines, and it's okay. They don't have to. They're getting themselves their own machines. They had a big loss, but it was a non-cash item, so their financial statements looked awful, but it's got nothing to do with anything. So the net loss widened to $266 million or $1.28 per share, even as revenue more than doubled to $169.7 million. They have ramped up. They are now, self-mining capacity is now at 41.2 exahash. So this is a company that has added. There's two companies in particular. There's more, but BitDR and TeraWulf, I'm sorry, not TeraWulf, Hive have substantially added to their exahash. Right? Hive's now at 24 exahash. That's many, many multiples of what they were at the beginning of the year. And more importantly, it's exactly what they told us they were going to do. So, unlike other times in the past, they stuck precisely to their plan. They got to their 24 exahash. Here we have BitDR at 41 exahash, and they don't really tell us. They're going to do whatever works for them because, again, they make their own machines. So, in addition to this, they are in AI. So I think everybody's missing the forest for the trees on this one. This stock dropped 20% in one day. I think it's down like, here, let's go look at what the Bitcoin miners did today, because this week, BitDR's down 52% this week. I need to fix this because that says the wrong thing. So from last Friday to this Friday, it has been a train wreck. Bitcoin's down 9%. All the Bitcoin miners are basically down double, triple, quadruple. BitDR's down 52% in a week. In a week. There's nothing that happened, in my opinion. Now, they also had a fire. They had a fire at a facility that I believe has 30 buildings. The fire affected 2 of those buildings, and there's no machines in either one of them. So it's not like they had some kind of nightmare. Yes, that made the news. It was a splash. That just added insult to injury on top of what looked like a gigantic miss. But the revenue side is what's important. They were up 100% on their revenue, and they're going to be up dramatically more than that next year because they're getting their high-performance computing online. So if you go back, they have 175 megawatts here. BitDR pipeline overview. In Tydal, Norway, they have 175 megawatts. Currently, this is Bitcoin mining. But this is all earmarked for high-performance computing. This is up and running. Now, it's up and running as a Bitcoin miner. So a Bitcoin mining data center is not identical to an HPC data center. So they will have to retrofit this for GPUs, but that is a very, very, very small percent of the cost of building a data center. You know, maybe it's 10%, maybe it's less. And more importantly, the time. The data center's there. They already have the power contracts. They have the power. They've pulled it to the buildings. It's up and running. All they got to do is swap out the technology on the inside. So they can do in 4 or 5 months what most other companies are going to take 2 or 3 years to do, and some of them will even fall off of that track based on, you know, permitting and all those kinds of things that get in the way of keeping your construction project online. So this is 175 megawatts. This is 570 megawatts. 570 megawatts in Ohio. This is going to be ready in Q3 of 2026. Tier 3 turnkey. So this is going straight for high performance computing. So this is a company, I'll put it in perspective, on 200 megawatts, IREN just made a deal that's almost $2 billion of revenue a year for the next 5 years. It was just under a $10 billion 5-year contract, and that's with just 200 megawatts. This is 570 megawatts. So when I say the top line is going to go up dramatically on these companies, it's going to be game-changing, and the gross profits are higher, and as this becomes more of the bottleneck, they're only going to be able to charge even more for their product because it's going to be in ultra high demand. It already is in ultra high demand. We've already had, somewhere around $500 billion committed to in getting these types of facilities up and running over the next 2 years. So,
would you say there's blood in the streets for this stock now?
I think so. I bought. I can't at 10 BTDR. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. This is a company that has ramped up, right? Let me go look at this another way. So if I go back, BTDR mined 511 Bitcoin in October. That was up 13% month over month. In September, they were up 21% month over month. But here's what I want to show you. They are now at 41.2 exahash. So if I go back in time, I got to go this way for the exahash. BTDR, in June, they were at 16. They're at 41 now. In May, they were at 13. So from May until now, they went from 13 to 41 exahash. That rivals what IREN did. IREN basically went from 5 to 50. So, and you can see there's only 2 companies, I've highlighted them here, Hive and BTDR, that are still ramping up. Everybody else has added 0. That's a 0, 0, 0, 0.1 exahash. Riot added. These guys haven't even reported what they're doing. ABTC reported they have 25 exahash operational. They didn't really give us a lot of the same information the other companies have given us. So, and I haven't quite processed that. A lot of information's come out in a super short period of time. So is the AI bubble bursting or over? 33% said yes. 67% say no. I'm saying this is a resounding no. I don't even think we've entered the AI bubble. That's how much they're lying to us to try to take our money as retail investors. They're trying to tell us a bubble's over that, in my opinion, hasn't started. That's just this person's opinion.
I want to send them. I found a dumpster with like fire coming out of it. Do you think that would be too on the nose for them?
But they're not. So do us a favor and hit the like button, hit the thumbs up button. You can subscribe if you're new here, but it does help us to hit that like button. It helps get the stream out to people in the world, and I think there's some opportunity here, and it would be nice to be able to share that with some more people, because you're seeing, if we go back, let's go back and just take a closer look, because we didn't really talk about it. This is what happened this week. Pick your stock. Here, I own BTDR. It's down 52% this week. CIFR down 31%. Cleanspark down 30%. Hive down 30%. Bitfarms down 30%. IREN 26%. Marathon 24%. TerraWolf 21%. Riot 18%. Hut's the big winner, down 17%. Oh, by the way, Bitcoin's down 9%. Now let's go year to date, because boy, did this game change. This was a great year. May, June, July, August, September, October, things were looking great. This chart had turned around, and year to date was awesome. It's still green, but you're going to see this has changed dramatically. Hive was once up over 100% year to date. It's now up 16%. Bitcoin's up 1% this year. It's about to go red on the year. CleanSpark was up way over 100%. Now it's up 19%. Riot was up way over 100%. Now it's up 19%. Bitfarms was up almost 200%. Now it's up 73%. Like all of these have pulled. Even IREN, they're up 372%. They were up 600%. So we have had significant pullbacks. But if you look, so BitDR was, for the year coming into this week, BitDR was break even. And they lost 52% this week, which puts them down 51% year to date. Marathon is down 29%. Marathon is now worth significantly less than the amount of Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet, which means they're valuing the company at zero and the Bitcoin at a discount. If you take the debt into account, it's, you know, close to that 1 MNAV that Microstrategy is also moving in on. That's been a total disaster all year this year. These were doing well, but you can see one month, and this is month to date, so it's a little worse than the week to date. BitDR down 53%. I mean, CleanSpark's down 38% this month. All they did this month was tell the world they're pivoting to AI, right? I mean, if anything, they just got in the game and they crashed this month. Bitfarms 35, Marathon 34. But here's what I want to show you with Marathon. And this is why I also bought more Marathon today, not financial advice. So the three that I bought today were Marathon, CleanSpark, and BitDR. And I'll show you why I did that later, because I've really had my eye on two stocks, which is Core Scientific, which I think is way underpriced, and TeraWulf, which is way underpriced. The problem is these are even more underpriced. It's to the point of absurdity. And they're closer to ready for a breakout, in my opinion. So that's just my opinion. I would still, if we keep going down and test lower numbers, maybe I'll get some TeraWulf. Right? Because TeraWulf has big plans. And they've already got the infrastructure. They borrowed $3 billion to build it out. I mean, it's happening.
I started a new poll.
What's the new poll? Let's take a look.
Do you think the economy is starting to crash the stock market? And will it be down 5% by the end of the year? Neutral, up 5%, or down 10%?
Ooh. I think the crowd does not like what they see. And it's funny because remember, all year, fourth quarter is going to be awesome. October, fourth quarter, it's on. That's always the best quarter. And look what's happening. But I think this is a great big head fake. That's what I think.
Oh, you do? So when do you think the head fake's over?
That is the most dangerous question in investing. And that is why. So today, I waited all week, right? Because these stocks were getting beat up all week this week, and I didn't buy anything. I waited until today, and I did some dollar cost averaging, and if it goes down again, I left myself some powder on the sidelines to dollar cost average in again. Because what the answer to your question is, I don't know when the bottom is. Maybe it's tomorrow for some of these stocks. Maybe it was today for some of these stocks. Maybe it's a month from now. You know the way they can bring the pain.
When would be the next rate cut if we do have one, Tom?
Well, you guys are going to be surprised. I think we're going to have a rate cut in December. There's a lot of time between now and then, almost a month. And I think cooler heads will prevail. And we're going to see a rate cut in December. If we don't,
what
we
date?
will.
What date? Do you know when it is? Is it like the 20th?
I think it's the 10th. Let me go look.
Oh, really?
Let's take a look at the upcoming. So December 10th is the next Fed meeting. And then we don't get one until January 26th. Let's see what the market's pricing in there. Still a 33% chance of no rate cut at the end of January. So these are grim outlooks. Let's go to March. Still a 20% chance of no rate. Let me tell you this, I can tell you one thing. If we're in March and we still haven't had a rate cut, we're hoping we're in a recession, because the thing we're in is probably going to be a lot worse than that if this is where we're sitting next March. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think there's good things ahead. I am optimistic. I know, there's been a lag. We were all hoping the government would open up and that would open the floodgates. But the reality is the government opened up and we realized we're behind on everything. We have no numbers. We have no data. And, it's going to take a while for everybody to get back to work. For those of you not in the United States, air traffic control was shutting down. They were canceling flights significantly. So, it takes a while to get back on track, and there's been a big sell-off. If we look at the 1 day on Bitcoin, you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4 giant red candles. That's a bad week. And it's funny because on the Tuesday live stream, I said, it looks like we are 1 day away from a bullish crossover. However, I will warn you, I went right back here and showed we went from red to pink, and the normal progression, you can see we go from dark green to light green to dark red to light pink to dark green, and you have a bullish crossover. But there is no guarantee, because here we went from dark red to pink, back to dark red, back to pink, back to dark red. So that's what just happened to us. On this day where it looked like we were 1 day away from a bullish crossover, it went the other way. And we had 3 more awful days. Now, we are now at 30.7 on the RSI, the 1 day RSI for Bitcoin. That's very low. I can go way back. I got to go back to February is the last time we broke that line, and we don't often break it. You can see back here when we had our series of, so we did break it back in August of 2023, but a lot of these pullbacks from the overbought to oversold never even got to 30. Here we hit 30, 30, 30. So we're there. We're at 30. We might go to 26. Who knows? We'll see. Right? If I shorten this up a little bit, I do have a line at 26 because from time to time, we get as low as that. So we could go a little lower, but I think we're in the bottoming out process. I would have liked to see us bounce off of this line. My next line is at this purple line at 93,495. It would have been nice to bounce off of this line and hold this as support, and then maybe that would have been the bottoming out process. But we don't know, because we still have, from a big picture standpoint, we've only
just begun.
I won't go that far, but this green line is 30%. So that's 88,700. That would be actually just a little bit under 29.8%. So that's still in play. We had a 30% pullback last year. We had 4 20% pullbacks in 2024 and 1 30% pullback in 2024. So we certainly could have a 30% pullback in 2025. We already just did 25, right? From the top to the low, there's your 25. So that's some standard operating procedure type stuff. But that's why I'm not panicking. There's nothing on this chart that shows, right? We have.
Well, Don, it's actually healthy.
You're 100% right, because things can't go up in a straight line forever. So this is very healthy action. Everything is getting to reset. You can see we went from overbought on Bitcoin on October 6th to we're maybe 1 day away from being oversold. So that's a full reset.
All right.
Maybe it took 25%. Maybe it's going to take 30%. I don't know. I don't think it's going to go any further than that. We can do a poll on that. It looks like people are pessimistic, George, on this poll. Almost 60% of people think we're going down either 5% or 10% between now and the end of the year. So optimism is gone. Fear and greed is high. Sour Melon Gaming, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for being a member long term. Captain George called this collapse 2 months ago. That is true.
This is normal behavior. This is just, and people forget in Bitcoin, those bastards were greedy, and we smell blood. And we know what to do. It's a game. But if you don't need the money, it's still a Bitcoin. And it didn't change any. And we're feeble-minded when you start looking at the fiat currency. And I hope you understand that statement. We're feeble-minded. We think that because it went down, it's worth less. And I don't agree with that. I believe that it's just, again, shaking the hands that aren't diamonds.
That's right. I agree. I've done nothing but dollar cost average in. It's hard to do that. And I waited because there was a lot of buying opportunities this last week. And I waited as long as I could. And I did. I didn't want to go the entire week. So I bought some today and I feel good about it. I bought Marathon when it was way down. It went down even further, was down 5%. It ended up down 6%. I bought Cleanspark down 6.5%. It ended up down 8.5%. And BitDR actually is just about where I bought it. So,
I won't mention, I'm not even going to say what I want to say. I'll say it on the member stream, remind me. But I won't say it now because it's too populated.
Too controversial.
Yep.
The mainstream.
No, it's about Bitcoin. And it's just, I wouldn't tip my hand, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know how there's an insurance company out there that says sometimes we give you the good hands. It's just sometimes when you open up, there's a finger in it. You know what I mean? Sorry. I don't know what insurance company that is. Or maybe it's good feet. We're good feet.
I think to your point, George, this is a healthy chart.
And here's the other thing is we
go the 1 week.
Guys, you know what just happened this week? The McRib sandwich. Okay?
It's all on now if the McRib is back.
I'm telling you, as stupid as that is, that gives me hope. I'm serious.
I believe you.
I mean, have you guys had the McRib sandwich at McDonald's? It's awesome.
So we're actually even a little beyond. We've broken below this little line that had a touch point here. This is on the 1 week, but this is not done. So what would be nice is if this 1 week candle climbed back up. It looks like it's got to get to like 97. It was there. By the way, we were at 97 3 hours ago. So
what about the 50 MA and all that?
We're underneath everything now.
Oh yeah.
So all the nasty things that everybody was worried was going to happen have happened. But to me, we're still, this is still a pretty clear uptrend, right? There's no, now if we go test 73, that's the last line of defense. There's 88, which I think to me is an ultra strong line. I got a line at 85 that's not as important. This line at just under 74, if we go below that, then we are in a bear market, period. That's just too late at that point. But I don't see any of that coming. I actually think they're almost done with the nonsense. And the reason I bought, so if I go look at these stocks, here's BitDR's 1 day chart. I mean, giant red candle on Monday, red candle on Tuesday, red candle on Wednesday, a giant gap down. Remember, a green candle just means it ended the day higher than it started, but it gapped down massively on Thursday. That was the 20%. And that's after it had already gotten beaten down heavily. And then we have a green candle again, but it gapped down again. So in a very short period of time, you're talking about October 15th. That's 1 month ago. This stock's down 62% in the last month. So yeah, I bought some today because I don't see anything different about this company today than a month ago, or 2 months ago, or 3 months ago. If anything, I mean, man, they had a killer. I know nobody even pays attention to this anymore, but they had an absolute killer monthly operational report again. Right? They used to be down here near last place. And by the way, that was when 10 or 11 or 12 companies were reporting. Now they're doing over 500 Bitcoin a month. We don't know what IREN's doing. And more interestingly, they didn't even tell us how much exahash they have running in their quarterly report. So that's not a monthly operational report. They're not giving us any more monthly operational reports. And they didn't even say in their quarterly report how many exahash is up and running. So all bets are off at IREN. Now, I think this formula is working for them. They have very cheap power. They make a lot of cash per coin, and they're taking that cash and they're throwing it into building data centers. So I think they'll keep doing what they're doing for as long as it works. But right, the big winner this month was BTDR, and then not far behind, look at Hive. Hive was on the brink of irrelevancy. And they have gone, look at this stretch. June, they were up 18% month over month. And remember, this compounds. So up 18% in June. In July, they were up 24% month over month on top of that. In August, 22% month over month on top of that. And then in September, another 8%. So while most of these companies, look at all this red in August, not here. So, Hive has been keeping them, they got back into the conversation. Now, they're the smallest market cap. They just went under $1 billion. They're the only one under $1 billion. And I want to show you guys a few market caps, and then you guys can tell me what you think, whether or not you think this makes sense. Maybe we'll do a poll on it. But first, word from our sponsors, which is ourselves. If you could smash the like button, it would be greatly appreciated. A thumbs up. How many likes we got, George? I don't even know.
I haven't even been paying attention to that. I'm just having fun. Nothing has changed. That's my whole thing. I don't know why, personally, I don't know why everybody's dumping on the miners. The Bitcoin miners are getting out of it and just completely over to AI. To me, they just didn't have a good marketing plan or a good plan. They just, that's my theory. I mean, does that make sense?
I think, it's tough, and we've seen them. What we've actually seen in the last 100 days is the Bitcoin miners run away from Bitcoin. They've 7 of them have stopped doing monthly operational reports. IREN, I dare you to find the word Bitcoin on their website, including their investor page. Now, if you dig deep and go into the financials, they have to talk about it because that's what they do. It's where 90% of their revenue is from. But if you look at their website and if you look at their investor website, they don't even say the word Bitcoin anymore. That's how much they don't want to be associated with Bitcoin. And TeraWulf's not much different. A lot of these companies are leaning into AI. I do believe there will be the hybrids that are going to get the best of both worlds out of this. and they're going to get the upside from Bitcoin when it runs, and they're going to get the consistency from this high performance computing, which I think is only going to get better for the next 5 years. Even if this is a bubble, I think these companies have at least a 5-year runway of moving dramatically in the right direction as far as top line growth and bottom line growth. And that's how these should be judged, right? These are ultra high growth stocks. So yeah, we had a lot, IREN went from $5 to $75, and now it's back down to $46. Yes, you get a lot of volatility in these. So I want to show you the other two. Let's go back to... So you can see this is a 62% pullback on BTDR. We are now oversold on the 1 day. So we're at 26.7. That's some pretty historic territory for BTDR's 1 day, right? We got to go back to October of 2023 is the last time we were that low on the daily RSI. 2 years ago. So to me, this has done a full and complete retest. You can see it went right back down to this area where it held support back in June. And again, this company's at 41 exahash. So they've gone from 13 to, in this period of time that they've crashed, they've gone from 13 to 41 exahash. They've rolled out their new machines, and they have 575 and 175 megawatts of AI that will probably get implemented in the next 12 to 15 months. So that's billions and billions and billions of dollars in revenue. These companies never talked about billions. The one company that was able to talk in the billions is Marathon, because they have 53,000 Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin rallies, let's say Bitcoin, by the end of this thing gets to 200,000. Well, 53,000, and that's $100,000 increase per, that's $5 billion profit in 1 year if that happens. So let's end this where people are skeptical on the next couple of months. But where's everybody at?
I think it's interesting to see how hedge funds can change the narrative and make everybody think that everything's terrible.
How fast did that happen? It was only 2 weeks ago. There was jubilance. It was like,
well, I mean, for an idea, is my covered calls closed today on Cleanspark.
That's all free money.
Right. That was $25, and I think at the time Bitcoin was $22.50. And I just felt like it was overheated, and that's why I did it. You know what I mean? And they paid more money than if I was to sell the stock at $25 at the time. That's what blows my mind. So it was like 22, like 60. And I think I got them for like $2.75. How do you not do that?
Well, I personally blew it. I had a real golden opportunity that I did not make happen.
All right, welcome to Talkin Investing.
And those would be expiring today. Let me get to Frederic. Member for 9 months. Thank you for your support. How likely we boost plus 7% in Bitcoin price until close of Sunday? Most think cycle is over by the end and retail will act accordingly. I don't think we're going to get a 7% increase by Sunday. That would be the close of the weekly candle. So, but I mean, if we go back and look, let's go back 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. This is the 1 week. I got to go back to the 1 day. That's 14%. We were 14% higher a few days ago. So we could, but I don't, it's my strong opinion that this 4-year cycle doesn't exist. And I don't think there's going to be any 4-year cycles anymore. And that doesn't mean I think it's a bull market from now until the end of time. I believe there will be bull markets and bear markets in cryptocurrency and in Bitcoin in specific, just like there is in everything else. But I also think, just like everything else, over time, it's going to go up and to the right, meaning it's going to get more and more valuable. And I think it will outpace the indexes. It has, I mean, it's not even worth comparing. It is so monumentally outpaced the indexes since inception, but I believe it will continue to outpace the indexes. Tom Lee said Bitcoin will, what did he say? By the halving, Bitcoin will catch up to gold in market cap. So that's more than a 10x from here. Now, Tom Lee is one of the biggest Bitcoin bulls on earth. So take that for what it's worth. Second from getting this poll up and running. Okay, what's going to be the peak of this run? And I'm saying 2025, 2026, whenever we hit our natural peak here. Could be a month from now, could be 7 months from now. 126.5, I put that because we've already been there. So we know it can't be any less than that. But can we get to 150? Can we get to 175? Can we get to 200,000? And we'll talk about the results of this after, because I have a specific thing I want to talk about. So go ahead and vote, cast your vote. It's free to vote. While you're voting, you can also smash the like button. It's free to do that too. It's much appreciated. Let's get to some other stuff, because there was a lot of stuff that went on this week.
I'm still keeping it. I'm still saying 150. I have not. I'm just in shock that they're able to do this. Meaning that, like, we're still, the total crypto is what? Let's see. Total crypto.
Oh man, it's got to be under 3, maybe 3.5.
3.14.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
we're down $1 trillion.
Yeah.
That's staggering.
I expected a double. I expected it to be around 10 trillion.
Yeah,
at the end of the year.
We've been duped. But again, it's all a matter of timing. So I want to get to this. Here's your buddy, George. I don't know if you can see him. This is Fred. Bitcoin miner.
He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's looking good. Bitcoin miners must own power or die trying before the next halving, Mara CEO says. With block rewards set to plunge, I don't think that's a fair statement. The block rewards go down the same percent every halving. They, as you might guess, get cut in half at the halving. So only miners with energy control or AI pivots are likely to survive. That from Fred Thiel. So he goes on to talk about Bitcoin mining faces tightening margins as rising competition and energy costs squeeze profitability. Smaller miners risk being pushed out as firms shift to AI and high-performance computing to stay afloat. The next Bitcoin halving in 2028 could make current mining models unsustainable without a major price or fee increase. And I don't think there's likely to be enough of a fee increase to make a difference. So it's going to be about the Bitcoin price. The Bitcoin price needs to go up significantly between now and the next halving for this model to work. If it doesn't, the Bitcoin network is going to shrink significantly because people aren't going to lose money mining Bitcoin. Most of these companies are too many years into this process for that.
If I didn't lose money, Tom, it wouldn't make sense.
That's right. Sour Melon Gaming said Tom Lee has upped his year-end target to $250,000. Are you joking? Because I did see him say Bitcoin to 200,000 by the end of this year. Did he really up it to 250? He is a bull. He is bullish. And by the way, he puts his money where his mouth is. Let me see if I can find.
Oh my goodness.
What?
McCade is out for Sunday.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's Buffalo Bills talk now. It's after 6. It's Buffalo Bills talk.
Our season is over. I don't want to be that guy, but
oh, are you really? You're saying that now?
It's over.
Okay.
I'll root for him. I've been a fan for 50 years. I'm not going to stop now, but I also got to live in reality. That's the worst offensive playbook I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's not even close. It's embarrassing. We'll move on. All right. I don't know where I put this, but Tom Lee bought a bunch of. He's got over 3 million Ethereum, and he continues to buy hand over fist every week. And with that said, I want to go to. So Michael Saylor had to come out and squash a rumor. No truth to the rumor, Michael Saylor says. Strategy, which is the new name of the company that was AKA or formerly known as Microstrategy, aggressively accumulating. Amid the continued panicky action in crypto, online chatter suggested Microstrategy was unloading some of its Bitcoin stack. A rumor executive chairman Michael Saylor shot down Friday morning. Michael Saylor reaffirmed his firm's continued Bitcoin accumulation strategy amid rumors that the company was selling Bitcoin as its stock plunged. "We are buying Bitcoin," said Saylor in a CNBC appearance. MicroStrategy was lower another 4%, and it is now, I do believe it might have closed if we go. This closed below $200. This was a $543 stock this year. And this is what's happening to it. This MNAV, this is the number all these treasury companies use. This is getting very close to 1. And the only reason it's above 1 is because you subtract the debt. But if you strictly go Bitcoin held, their Bitcoin held is, where's their market cap? Their market cap's 59, and their Bitcoin held is 60 billion. So their market cap has now gone below the amount of Bitcoin that they hold. By the way, in Marathon's case, it's even much worse than this. Their market cap is well below where Bitcoin is. And that leads me, I want to show you guys some market caps, and then let me know what you think. Okay, so here's BitDR at $2.33 billion. Then we jump up. So to me, these are all somewhere in the same neighborhood. Remember, BitDR's at 41 exahash. They have a 3 gigawatt pipeline for power. BitDR is no smaller than any of these other companies. And let's just go back and revisit. Their market cap's $2.3 billion. If you go to TeraWulf, TeraWulf's market cap is $4.6 billion. They're no longer reporting how many Bitcoin it is, but it's less than a third of what BitDR is doing. Now, they are ahead on the AI side of things. They have some really nice contracts, and I think there's more coming. So that's $4.6 billion. Marathon's $4.5 billion. They have 53,000 Bitcoin. So they have more Bitcoin than they have market cap. Marathon used to be the biggest Bitcoin miner by market cap by far for quite some time. Now, IREN has surpassed them dramatically, and they've earned it. But the rest of these companies, you're going to see. TeraWulf is more than Marathon. Let's keep going. Riot. So Marathon's at 60 exahash. Riot's at 36. Riot's at $5.18 billion market cap. They're worth $500 million more. They have less than half as many Bitcoin. They mine about half as many Bitcoin, and their market cap's higher. Let's keep going. CIFR. Let's go back and look at what CIFR did. CIFR mined 251 Bitcoin. That's half. Or sorry, you know what? I don't think they're going to report anymore. So let me know if you guys saw. I think we have two more companies that are no longer going to report, because CIFR did not put out a monthly report for October, and Marathon did not put out a monthly report for October. So we could literally be down to Cleanspark, BitDR, Riot, and Hive. So, and I think this is all a part of, like I said earlier, for those of you who weren't here, I think a lot of these companies are intentionally distancing themselves from Bitcoin as much as they possibly can, because there's a perception that it's a bad business model. And obviously, up until a week ago, when all of a sudden the sky is falling, it was the perception that AI was a great business model. Now, we're a week or two into that not being the case. I would submit to you, in my opinion, this is the natural big pullback after such radical gains in these stocks. They have pulled way back. It's a buying opportunity, right? They're going to short these, turn around, flip them, and long them back to even higher highs. So almost every single company that covers IREN came out and gave it a new price target. They were all over $100. And Cantor Fitzgerald gave it a 2028 price target of $384. It's a $46 stock. So I think there's a lot of room. And, I take all that with a grain of salt, because all of these price targets, oftentimes end up being meaningless. But it shows the optimism around the business model. IREN's good at what they do, in my opinion. So I believe they will execute, and as they execute, they're going to get more and more business. They've only gotten a contract for 200 megawatts of what is, if we go look, so they have 2,000 megawatts in Sweetwater. Now that's a year and a half away. 750 megawatts in Childress. So that's 2.75. They have over 3 megawatts in their gigawatts, or 3,000 megawatts, either operational or in their backlog. Just 200 megawatts got them a $10 billion or $2 billion a year contract. So imagine what this company is going to be doing when they're firing on all these cylinders. So this is why they've run up, and this is why people think there's so much more room to run in this company. It's not irrational. It's not AI good by anybody who says, puts out an AI press release. There was some of that going on, but the fundamentals are all here on this one, in my opinion.
Tom, there is a really good likelihood that come Sunday we are back up 7%, and that we continue on with this, without a continue on the bull market.
You're absolutely right. We just looked.
This could just be the pain, someone screwing with everybody, and because I mean, if that happens, look out, IREN. No, IREN. Sorry, look out, IREN.
I'm going to read Frederic because just so you guys know, it's hard for me to look at the chat. I'm looking at my notes and I'm looking at my 75 tabs I have open trying to talk about what's next, but just caught my eye. Nobody in here cares about the inevitable close Bitcoin below the 50-week moving average. I imagine what you're talking about. That's all we should be discussing, in my opinion. I will just say we're in a period of time, so I will address that. We are in a period of time where the fundamentals of Bitcoin are not necessarily driving these stocks at all, right? It didn't drive IREN from $6 to $75. It didn't drive, and by the way, I'm going to go through a few of these because they're not the only one that took a run. Here, look at Bitfarms. Bitfarms was trading at 68 cents. Right? Since that was June of 2025, we're pretty much sideways on Bitcoin since June of 2025. Bitfarms went up 800%. 800%. So, are we getting a big pullback? Yes. But this thing ran up 800%. Now, it was lagging behind. It was underpriced. It was obvious. I was pounding the table on this one. And I personally was dollar cost averaging in like crazy. My cost basis in Bitfarms, which I've held for years, is still somewhere around $1. So, I'm disappointed it's down to $2.58, but I'm still up so big that it's hard to dollar cost average in when you're up 150, 200%. But this did test this line. You can see it closed above this line of resistance one day and then came right back down. I expect this to bounce off of this line. We may get lucky because you can see there's kind of a line right where we are that we did close above today. So, we might bounce from here. We might go down a little bit further, down and test, $2.16. Fine. I think there's a lot, a bounce back to the upside. So some of these vicious pullbacks are because, when you're up 800%, there's an awful lot of room to pull back. To put in perspective, even with this vicious pullback, Bitfarms is up 263% in the last 6 months. So, it's not like you did too bad if you held Bitfarms, even with this nightmare. Same thing for IREN. Right? IREN was bouncing off of this purple line's $4. Here. Now, this was a year and a half ago. All right, George. Have a great weekend.
Go Buffalo.
Go Bills. But even if you go more recently, this was trading in the $5 range. So, from April, this was up 1,440%. So, yes, it's had a pullback, but you got to keep in perspective, like, where did it just come from? So, it's pulled back 40% on a 1,440% run. So, I'm not worried about it. It might go lower. I'm still not worried about it. But here's the reason I bought the stocks I did. I showed you BitDR, oversold territory, right? We're deep, the histogram's deep into the red on the MACD. We're deep into a bearish crossover, and we're oversold territory on the RSI. Marathon. Oversold territory on the RSI. We're at 23.78 on the daily RSI for Marathon. You got to go back February 2025, September 2023. I mean, it hits this less than once a year. This is epically oversold. So we talked about this a month ago. I said, and I didn't sell anything, and I said, I'm just going to grin and bear it, and it is what it is. Everything's overbought. Everything was between 80 and 90 on the daily RSI. Well, now Marathon's at 26. Now, Marathon didn't get quite that high. It did get over 70, which is considered overbought. Most of the Bitcoin miners got between 80 and 90. But you can see Marathon's oversold deep into a bearish crossover. So I think we're in a bottoming out process in Marathon. So to me, it was time to buy Marathon. Why didn't I buy IREN? Because we're still at 38, almost 39 on the daily RSI. We just had a bearish crossover. I think there's room to the downside here. This hasn't had, not every stock does the exact same thing every single day, right? They're all at different points in their cycle. So if you look at CleanSpark, boom, 28.64% on the daily RSI is where we finished the day today. So that is now oversold territory, multiple weeks into a bearish crossover, very close to a line of support. Maybe it'll get down to this line of support. I don't know, but it's pretty much there. And it's, again, from its high, it's down 53%. So I feel very good about buying some CleanSpark, down 53%, very near a line of support and in oversold territory. So this is how I'm looking at these. That's why, you know, what I really would like to get my hands on is some TeraWulf, but TeraWulf's at 37 on the daily RSI. You can see TeraWulf's a full week behind where Marathon and CleanSpark and BitDR were from a technical standpoint. Now, the technicals don't always play out to perfection, obviously, and no one indicator, and to get back to the 50-week average, I just don't, there's no one indicator. We break indicators, you know, oh, this has never happened before, and then boom, we break it, and we think it's the end of the world, but it's not, because ultimately, every record is made to be broken. So I know it's a negative sign. We've got a lot of things that look bearish. We've got a market that's extremely skittish, right? We're at 16 on the fear and greed index. So, you know, we're in panic territory. This is panic territory. 16 is extreme fear, and it's getting deep into extreme fear. 10 is like almost a floor. Once every 3 or 4 years, we have a day below 10 on the fear and greed index. So, I mean, we're getting to historic levels of fear. And the poll we just had is the one I wanted to end on, because 2 weeks ago, $200,000 or more won this poll, and it wasn't close. And now, so this is what will be the peak of Bitcoin in this run. And now it's just 2 weeks later, and 200,000 came in dead last place. In second last place, 175,000. 150,000, 32%, almost 40% think this bull market's over that just voted on this today. So we went from severe optimism 2 weeks ago of the majority of people. 200,000 got a majority, a clean majority. So and now it finished in dead solid last. So don't be surprised how fast these things go back and forth and back and forth. That would be my point. And when you see a confluence, so I don't look at any one thing, but when you see many things start to point at a certain outcome, then I have an increased level of confidence. That's still no guarantee, because anything can happen. Tomorrow's news could wreck all of this for all we know, or could send everything sky high. But this is the way you got to look at this. Look at as much as you can. company specific, so you understand what's going on with your company. That's due diligence. But this is another part of due diligence. What does the overall market look like? What do the technicals look like? What's happening? And so to me, I think we're in the bottoming out process. When we sit here in extreme fear like this, when we pull back, we're 25% pullback. I'm going to leave the door open. Obviously, we could have a 30% pullback. We're practically there. So to say that that's out of the question is ridiculous. So maybe we get another, to me, then I'll just buy some more. Now, if we go past that, I'm going to wait quite some time. If we get past this line at 88, I probably won't buy again, because that would be, if we're closing daily candles, or worse yet, a weekly candle under 88, then I do think some lower numbers are in play, but we're nowhere near that situation yet. I still think this is all normal behavior, a regular pullback. And so I still remain midterm and long term. I'm very optimistic. I think we're still going to get to at least 175,000 in this run on Bitcoin. That's been my call, and I'm sticking with it. And we'll see. You know, I'll save this, put it in a document, and we'll look at this 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, and just track how this poll is going, because it's a great indicator of where market sentiment is. And to me, even though these results are bad, that actually, to me, means good things. That means a lot of the retail investors are capitulating. They're giving up. They literally think the bull market's over, almost 40%. So that's a pretty shocking number. So, all right, that's all I got to today. There's a ton of other stuff going on. So for the members, I will see you guys on Tuesday, and we'll talk about some more of that. For everybody else, we're here every Friday when the market closes. So I hope everybody enjoys your weekend. Have a fantastic weekend. Thanks so much for joining us on the stream. And to the members, a special thanks. Thanks so much for your support. So have a good weekend.